Okay, we have returned and we're going to start case number 18 in the altered present. Bash of the Year. Matthew, we found a home among the resistance after solving the murder of the leader's son. But the ruthless dictators, the Ptolemies, are still after us. They're a powerful Egyptian dynasty controlling a huge empire, which includes the USA. They've renamed New York New Cairo and made it their capital. And it turns out that Nebet is their daughter. Her whole innocent stowaway act was just that, an act. Her real name is Princess Nefertiti. I still don't want to believe it, Matthew. We took Nebet in and treated her like one of us. But this whole time she was just setting us up, and now we're fugitives on the run with no time machine. We're not exactly sure why Nebet infiltrated our team, but she must have played some part in keeping us away from the present while her family rose to power through the ages. The one thing we do know is that she didn't do all this alone. Nebet had an accomplice who sabotaged our time machine back in ancient Egypt. We've learned that his name is Amon Bas, and he's head of intelligence for the Ptolemy dynasty. Since Nebet is untouchable, we need to focus on Amon. We must learn how he manipulated history to ensure Egypt won key battles, helping the Ptolemies rise to power. As luck would have it, he's hosting a party this evening at his apartment. It's the perfect opportunity for us to snoop around. The party to celebrate JIP Technologies launching the new version of their JIP chip. It's a microchip which people use for anything from digital payments to accessing their homes. With the Resistance's help, we've managed to forge invitations. I'll be masquerading as the French ambassador, and you'll be my general, Matthew. So let's don our disguises and get over to that party to see what we can uncover. Those invitations worked like a charm, Matthew, and so did our disguises. The bouncer really thought I was the French ambassador. I wish I'd brushed up on my French, though. I can't remember much more than "Voulez-vous coucher avec moi?" Anyway, now we're in. We need to find out whatever we can about the host, Amon Bas. Let's mingle. Murder! Matthew, did someone yell murder? It sounded like it came from downstairs. Quick, let's go. Still got it. By the skin of my teeth. Matthew, whoever this guy is, he's definitely dead. His head's been bashed in. Who are you two? I explicitly ordered everybody up to the roof. Monsieur Bas, I am the French ambassador, and this is General Matthew. Oh, Mr. Ambassador, please excuse me. I was under the impression that you were too sick to attend tonight's party. I have made a, miraculous recovery, but what happened here? Gerard Arnault has been murdered. It's terrible. Your fellow countryman and CEO of JIP Technologies is dead. This is very bad indeed. A Frenchman murdered in New Cairo. I cannot imagine what this will do to our country's relations. I understand, Mr. Ambassador. If fact, as a gesture of goodwill, I shall allow you and General Matthew to lead the investigation. I'll confine everyone to the rooftop while you investigate. We appreciate your help, Monsieur. We'll need to ask you some questions in a moment. Phew! That was nerve-wracking, coming face-to-face with the man who sabotaged our time machine. Anyway, Amon totally bought our disguises, and investigating this murder is the perfect excuse to snoop around his apartment. That looks like the victim's phone, so let's get it unlocked. And don't forget, we need to question Amon. Take care of this first. Three 773. Hey, it's like we're Vegas. Like we're in Vegas. 2, 3, 7, 3, 2. Okay. 2, 2, 3. 1, 1. Got it. The victim's phone opened on a message, Matthew. It reads, "Repent your sins to Meretziger while you can, Gerard. I'm coming for you." Matthew, I'm not entirely sure what this means, but it sounds like someone was threatening our victim. Maybe Orlando could make sense of it. Let's send him the victim's phone. I'm gonna get some more stars, so sit tight, everybody. Okay, we are back. Let's talk to Amon Bast right now. Remember, Matthew, Amon thinks I'm the French ambassador and you're a general. Let's not slip up. Mr. Ambassador, General Matthew, let me once again reiterate how sorry I am for the loss of your countrymen. Mr. Arnault might have made New Cairo his home many years ago when he founded JIP Technologies, but I know he remained French at heart. And did you see Monsieur Arnault this evening, prior to the murder? I briefly congratulated him on the launch of the new JIP chip, but I was called away to double-check the security arrangements. I think Mr. Arnault said something about heading to the kitchen. If I'm not mistaken, I left him, and the next time I saw him, he was dead. So Monsieur Arnault visited the kitchen. We shall take a look there for clues. That worked well. I don't know how much longer I can keep up this French accent, Matthew. It's never been my forte. At least I'm on as everyone up on the roof for the moment. Have you found anything which might tell us who bashed our French tech CEO over the head? Those pieces of metal are worth putting back together, I agree. And a handbag always makes for an interesting clue. Let's look inside to see who it belongs to. All right, I got 10 star. Got myself up to 10 stars. I'm gonna get everything else here. Ramsey, Chef of the Year 2028. This is an award, Matthew, and it was given to a P. Ramsey for being Chef of the Year. I wonder if that's a knockoff of Gordon Ramsay. I guess a party this size would need a chef. And since the victim visited the kitchen before his murder, this chef might have spoken to him. He'll be on the roof with the other guests. Let's question him. Chef Ramsey, we are investigating the murder of Gerard Arnault. We understand he visited the kitchen just before his death. That's right. Mr. Arnault swarmed into my kitchen and demanded that I change the menu mid-party. And worst of all, he wanted me to change it to frog legs. No offense, but everybody knows French cuisine is terrible. I told Mr. Arnault that the French wouldn't know fine dining if it hit them in the face, and he took my award and threw it on the floor. Then he stormed off into the lounge. And you did not hear any strange noises coming from the lounge after that? Not a sound. When I am cooking, the world around me becomes silent. Right. Got it. Gift box. Matthew, I'm guessing that handbag belongs to one of the guests. But what's inside that box you found in it? Those chocolates look good. And what a stroke of luck. They were a gift from our victim. Can you recover the rest of the tag, Matthew? Thanks for being such a wonderful assistant. That gift tag reads, Neha, thanks for being such a wonderful assistant. So our victim came here with an assistant called Neha. Clearly they were close, so let's speak to this Neha, Matthew. Neha Darsh, alright. I can't believe he's gone. Excusez-moi, madame, but are you the assistant of Monsieur Arnault? Oh, please excuse me, Mr. Ambassador. I didn't see you there. I was Mr. Arnault's executive assistant, yes. We are investigating Monsieur Arnault's murder. We found his gift to you. It seems like he appreciated you very much. Yes, Mr. Arnault was a wonderful boss, always keen to reward employees for their hard work. But he also had a brilliant mind. He was constantly innovating, always making sure we were one step ahead of the competition. Take the new Jip Chip, for example. It's full of great new functionalities which will revolutionize people's lives. I'm just so sad Mr. Arnault won't be here to see it. And I'll see you guys when these two are finished. Alright, we have come back. Let's get the results of the autopsy. Matthew, I can't help but wonder if Nebbit feels guilty for what she did. Surely our time together meant something to her. You always look for the good in people, Janice, but all Nebbit ever cared about was changing the timeline so her family would come to power. And I'm going to fix it if it's the last thing I do. That's why we're focusing on learning more about Amon. Solving this murder gives us the perfect excuse to look into him. Well, as you guessed, your victim was killed by a blow to the head, so be on the lookout for a blunt object, Matthew. But that's not all. Your killer clearly wanted to be sure that your victim was dead, because judging by the creases on his shirt, they removed his bow tie to check the pulse in his neck. And that was their downfall, Matthew. In doing so, they left traces of fava beans and herbs on the victim's collar. All the ingredients needed for the Egyptian dish tamea, similar to falafel. Since your victim had no traces of tamea in his stomach, it must have come from your killer. So our killer enjoys tamea. That'll narrow down the suspect list, Matthew. Now the unlocked phone. How are you doing, Orlando? It must be rough, being in such close proximity to Sirius. It's hard. We had such a happy marriage in the original timeline. It broke my heart when he passed. When I saw him again, I just wanted to hug him, but the Sirius in this timeline has no idea who I am. Anyway, what about you, Jack? I know Nebet's betrayal hit you harder than most. You two are so close. It's a lot to wrap my head around, but work's a good distraction. Speaking of which, what have you got on that message our victim received? The message references Meretseger, the ancient Egyptian funerary goddess. She's believed to watch over the deceased in their tombs. And the new Cairo Constitution stipulates that every citizen must have the chance to repent their sins to her before they die. A bit like the Catholic last rites. So whoever sent this message was telling Gerard to confess his sins before he died, which means that it came from your killer. And what's more, it also means that your killer knows the constitution of New Cairo. So our killer knows whatever passes for a constitution in these parts. I'll note it down, Matthew. Matthew, we're on dangerous ground. We're in the home of the man who sabotaged our time machine. Because we need to learn more about how he and Nebet changed history so we can fix it. But the party he's hosting for the launch of Jip Technologies' new Jip chip was interrupted by the CEO's murder. Thanks to our disguises as French diplomats, Amon has left us in charge of investigating the Frenchman's death. We know someone struck the victim over the head while he took a break from the party upstairs. But we've no idea who. The chef, who is in the next room, claims not to have heard anything suspicious. He hardly seemed like the victim's biggest fan, though, unlike Gerard's assistant, who sung his praises. Matthew, did you hear someone screaming, "We're all going to die"? And we'll get to Chapter 2 in just a minute. Don't go anywhere. Okay, we are back. Let's start Chapter 2 of Bash of the Year. This is where we last left off on. It sounded like it came from the roof. We need to get up there. Can't you people see that we're sitting ducks? There's a killer in our midst and any one of us could be next. Monsieur, calm down, s'il vous plaît. You must be Eugene Donkin, the spokesman for the Ptolemy dynasty. We are going to need to speak with you. Monsieur, can you explain why you were making such a fuss just now? With all due respect, Mr. Ambassador, I'm not sure it's a good idea to keep us all trapped up here while you investigate Mr. Arnault's murder. There's a killer among us. How can I enjoy my tamea knowing I might be struck down at any moment? I'm sure it goes against my constitutional rights. You can rest assured that no harm will come to you, Monsieur. General Matthew has everything under control. Tell that to Gerard. All he was guilty of was coming to New Cairo, working hard and making something of himself. He was the perfect example of how the Ptolemy dynasty rewards entrepreneurialism. Less than half an hour ago, Gerard was up here reaping the benefits, taking photos with some woman. And now he's dead. It's so tragic. Now excuse me, Mr. Ambassador, but I need just another glass of champagne if I'm to get through this evening. Phew! We knew Eugene would be here, but I didn't expect to have to confront him like that, Matthew. Thank goodness he didn't recognize us. Anyway, since we know the victim was up here, we should take a look around. Okay. Photo booth. There we are. I'm not gonna get the first star though, unfortunately. Or will I? I will. Matthew, that bow tie is covered in blood. Janice said that the killer removed the victim's bow tie to check his pulse. They must have brought it up here after the murder. Let's collect a sample of that blood. And Eugene mentioned that the victim was taking photos before his murder. He might have used that photo booth to do it. Can you get it unlocked? Someone at this party killed Gerard Arnault, Matthew, and here's hoping our investigation into them will shed some light on the host, Amon, too. Okay, let's see. Okay, good. Okay, yeah. There we are. Got it. The last photo taken on that photo booth does feature our victim, Matthew. But who's that woman he's with? Let's see if we can find a match on social media. Pretty good. Pretty good looking, too. Sophia Haniff. Matthew, this woman in the photo with our victim is 27-year-old partygoer Sophia Haniff. Clearly she was with Gerard not long before his death, and that means we should have a word with her. Let's question Sophia. Mr. Ambassador, General Matthew, what a pleasure to meet you. Have you tried the Tamea? It's absolutely divine. I'm afraid we are rather preoccupied with investigating the murder of Monsieur Arnault. We found this photo of you and him. Were you close? Oh, not in the slightest. I just met him tonight. I saw him passing by and thought it'd be fun to get a photo with a famous person. And what about the host, Monsieur Bast? Are you a friend of his? What a funny question. I'm not sure Amon has friends. Nobody had even heard of him until about 2 months ago, and then suddenly the Ptolemy dynasty announced they'd appointed a head of intelligence. But he's made quite a name for himself since then. Amon's ruthless in his work, and he has quite the temper. Anyway, I'm sure you know all this already, Mr. Ambassador, and I live my life according to the Constitution, so I have nothing to fear. Ciao! Got it. Matthew, let's get that blood you collected from the victim's bow tie to Theo. $12, and I'll see you guys when the blood is done. Okay, we are back. Let's get the results of the blood from Theo. Matthew, I'm grateful the Resistance is letting us hole up here, but I almost missed the days when we were stuck in the time machine. At least I had a proper lab. That feels like a lifetime ago. I can't believe there was a time when we thought our biggest problem was getting home. Anyway, our only hope now is to try and put everything right by figuring out how Amon changed history. In the meantime, can you confirm the blood from the bow tie was our victim's? Yes, which means that it's definitely your killer who discarded the bow tie on the roof. And I found something mixed in with the blood, traces of shisha, otherwise known as flavored tobacco. You mean the stuff people smoke in a hookah pipe? Exactly. And since your victim's lungs were pristine, I can only conclude that the substance came from your killer. They must smoke a hookah pipe. So our killer smokes a hookah pipe, eh? We'll be sure to smoke them out. And if you want to take another look around the kitchen, then let's go, Matthew. Gotta love that photo, though. Archer brushing up on his French. Got it. Going to get the first star. Matthew, that pastry tower does look delicious, but I'm watching my diet. It's all too easy to develop a dad bod at my age. Oh, you think there's something hidden inside? Then let's take a look. As for that piece of paper, that looks like one of Jip Technologies' under-the-skin chips taped to it. Let's recover the faded writing to see what it's all about. threat letter. Matthew, this message reads, I know the truth, Gerard. I won't let you go ahead with this. And it's signed by Neha, our victim's assistant. But Neha heaped praise on Gerard when we spoke to her earlier. Matthew, this must have something to do with the new Jip chip. You're right. Let's question Neha again. Madame, can you explain these letters that you sent to Monsieur Arnault? Look, I'm a good citizen. I can recite the Constitution off by heart while making my signature Tamea. But I recently discovered that the new Jip chip had a hidden functionality allowing the government to track every one of our users. And I was appalled. I couldn't believe Mr. Arnault had agreed to such a thing. But when I confronted Mr. Arnault about it, he laughed in my face. He said that business is driven by profit, not ethics, and that if I didn't like it, I should look for a job elsewhere. We just hope for your sakes that you did not decide killing him was the best way to stop the launch of the Jip chip, madame. Audio bug. You were right, Matthew. There was something in that pastry tower. A listening device. But what was it doing there? Kai will be able to tell us. Let's get the bug to him. 12 hours. I'll see you guys when this is done. Alright, we have returned, and let's get the results of the audio bug from Kai. Matthew, are you getting any closer to figuring out how exactly Nebet and Amon manipulated history in the Ptolemy's favor? Not yet. We need to solve this murder before we can take a proper look around Amon's apartment. Maybe my findings on this audio bug will help. I recovered everything it had recorded since the start of the party. And you'll want to hear this. Matthew has no idea that I know their real identity. Yes, Isabel, I'll make sure to keep you updated on their movements as the night goes on. Over and out. Matthew, I recognize that voice. It belongs to the chef we met earlier. And he was talking to someone called Isabel. That must be Isabel Huxley, leader of the resistance. So Isabel must have sent Chef Ramsey to keep an eye on us at the party. And here I was thinking the resistance trusted us. Matthew, I'd love to ask Isabel about this, but since she's not here, let's find a quiet room and question Chef Ramsey instead. I hope you brought me down here to tell me I can get back to my cooking, Mr. Ambassador. There's only so much time I can kill smoking a hookah pipe. Drop the act. We know who you are. We know you know who we are. You're spying on us for the resistance. Alright, so what if I am? Did you really think we let you come here unsupervised? We barely know you. So you are part of the resistance. Countless lives have been lost fighting that Ptolemy scum. We couldn't risk untrained operatives ruining everything we've achieved so far. If you didn't tell us that you were keeping an eye on us, how can we be sure that you didn't also plot to kill one of the regime's poster boys without telling us? You'll just have to take my word for it, Mr. Ambassador. Now, I need to get back upstairs before people start asking questions. Matthew, we infiltrated the JIP Technologies launch party hosted by Amon Bass, our time machine saboteur, only for the company's CEO to be murdered as he took a break from the festivities. The chef, who's actually a resistance member, keeping an eye on us, could have easily decided to kill two birds with one stone and murder Gerard Arnault while everyone was upstairs. We've also discovered that the victim's assistant was furious that her boss is going to let the government use their tech to spy on everyone. But who? Mr. Ambassador, General Matthew, I require an update on your progress. Boy, is he going to be in for a surprise. We'll see you for Chapter 3 after this. Do not go anywhere. Alright, we have returned. Let's start Chapter 3 of Bash of the Year. Matthew, we disguise ourselves as French dignitaries to infiltrate the JIP Technologies launch party hosted by Amon Bass, our time machine saboteur. Actually, we actually did this already. Okay. I require an update on your progress. I let you investigate this murder as a sign of goodwill between our nations, but my neck is on the line here. We already have several suspects, Monsieur, and we are certain that we shall find the culprit. Let's hope so, because if you don't arrest someone soon, I will take over this investigation myself. Matthew, if Amon does that, we'll never get the chance to properly look around his apartment. We need to solve this murder, and quickly. We know the killer is among the guests up on the rooftop, so let's take another look there. Glasses. Matthew, that watch has the victim's name on the back, but how did it get damaged? Perhaps vacuuming up some of that pink substance will tell us. And you're right, those smart glasses have the victim's initials on them. With any luck, they might have recorded someone acting suspiciously. Can you get them unlocked? And if you want to look through those throw pillows, I won't stop you. This is our chance to find Gerard's killer and earn Amon's trust so we can snoop around, Matthew. Let's get to it. Matthew, good job getting the victim's smart glasses unlocked. Kyle, tell us if they recorded anything interesting. Matthew, what was that magazine doing among those throw pillows? Look, it's some kind of gossip magazine. The headline reads, Eugene tells all. Learn the truth about his feud with Gerard. So Eugene had a problem with our victim. Let's ask him why he failed to mention it earlier. Monsieur Duncan, we found this magazine. Apparently there was, how you say, bad blood between you and the victim. If you must know, Gerard had never forgiven me for poking fun at him during a ceremony years ago. I was presenting him with an award for his contribution to the tech industry when I made a joke about him being more full of hot air than my hookah pipe. It was a harmless jibe, but Gerard took it badly and stormed off stage. He'd hated me ever since, always taking the opportunity to badmouth me in front of others. So I decided to get my own back by doing that interview. I wanted everybody to know how petty Gerard was. Let us just hope that you were not petty enough to kill him for it. Vacuuming up that powder revealed a message in French on the victim's watch, Matthew. It says, "For Gerard, my beloved husband." So the victim had a wife and this was a gift from her, but that doesn't explain how it ended up damaged. Let's put that powder under the microscope to find out. Okay. Nail varnish powder. That powder you collected from the victim's damaged watch is nail polish powder, Matthew. Apparently you dip your nails into it and you're good to go. And you're right, that's the shade that partygoer Sophia Haniff was wearing. But why would Sophia have damaged that watch, the watch Gerard's wife gifted him, when she claimed not to have known him personally? Only one way to find out. Let's question Sophia again. Madame, you told us earlier that you didn't know the victim personally, so why did you damage his watch? I suppose there's no point lying anymore. I did know Gerard intimately. I caught Gerard's eye at a party a while back and immediately knew I was onto a good thing. He was rich, intelligent, and did I mention rich? So I pulled out all the stops to try to get him to propose, but nothing worked. I couldn't figure out why until I helped him adjust his wristwatch earlier tonight. And that's when I saw that inscription. Gerard had a wife back in France that he'd been hiding from me. And that is when you damaged his watch, I suppose? Yes, but he deserves it for wasting my time. These looks won't last forever, especially not with the amount of hookah I smoke. I'll see you guys when the smart glasses is done. And the analysis of the smart glasses is done. Okay, the smart glasses has just finished, so let's get the results of that. Kai, what have you got for us on the victim's smart glasses? Well, most of it was just the victim going about his daily business. But then I stumbled upon this. Take a look, Matthew. I don't know who you think you are, but you have no right to question my decisions. I'm the head of intelligence, so if I ask you to do something, you do it. Ha! That may be so, but I can't help but ask myself how someone who barely looks old enough to have graduated high school ended up in such a job. How dare you question my authority? You have no idea of the things I've done to get where I am. What the heck, Matthew? Amon spoke highly of Gerard when we met him earlier, but clearly they weren't on the best of terms. We need to tread carefully here, Matthew. We must stay on Amon's good side so we can investigate him. But we also need to ask him why he quarreled with the victim. Let's talk to Amon. Mr. Ambassador, General Matthew, I trust you're here to report that you found the culprit? Not exactly, Monsieur Boss. You see, we have discovered that you, argued with the victim. I see. Well, I have nothing to hide. I worked with Mr. Arnault on the latest JIP chip to ensure that it met the government's needs. But Mr. Arnault undermined my authority at every turn. He even had the audacity to suggest I didn't deserve my role. I worked harder than either he or you could ever imagine to get to where I am today. My life hasn't all been swanky parties with Tamea on silver platters. And did you punish him for his impudence? Of course not. I simply reminded him that insulting a government official goes against the Constitution, and then I smoked my hookah pipe to calm down. Matthew, it's crucial we wrap up this investigation so we can take a closer look around Amon's apartment. But who bashed JIP Technology CEO Gerard Arnault over the head with a blunt object? We know Amon was angry with the victim for undermining his authority, while the victim's mistress was furious with him for stringing her along. And then there's Eugene Duncan, who had a long-standing feud with Gerard. We need to get to the bottom of this, Matthew, and since we're on the scene of the crime, let's take another look around. Matthew, that cloth is covered in blood. I agree. There's a good chance our killer used this to wipe their hands clean after the murder. Can you take a sample? And if you think those statue pieces might prove interesting, let's put them back together. We're closing in on Gerard's killer, Matthew. I can feel it. Just like that. Matthew, Janice will tell us whether the blood on those fibers you collected from the cloth is a match for our victim. Matthew, do you think that cat statue could be the blunt object our victim was bashed over the head with? Theo will be able to tell us. Let's get the statue to him. I'll see you guys when both of these are finished. Okay, we are back. Let's put a killer behind bars. So we'll start with the bloody fibers. We're on the home stretch here, Janice. Was the blood on those fibers our victims? Yes, which means that your killer is the one who handled that cloth. What's more, by removing some of the blood from the fibers, I ascertained that they had been dyed gold. Since the victim wasn't wearing gold and the fibers didn't come from the cloth, it must be your killer who's sporting gold clothing, Matthew. So our killer's wearing gold clothing? We'll dull their shine when Matthew arrests them. What have you got for us on that cat statue, Theo? Well, the killer clearly tried to wipe the statue clean, but since they missed some minute traces of your victim's brain matter, I can confirm that the statue is your murder weapon. And your killer must have caught themselves on a sharp edge as they wiped the pieces clean, because they left traces of A-negative blood on the statue. So our killer's blood type is A-negative, is it? They'll be feeling negative once you've got them in cuffs, Matthew. Matthew, it's time to arrest Gerard Arnault's killer. Let's do it. Let's do this. Hard to believe it's not a Mombas. Nope. It was the spokesman, Eugene Donkin. and I will remain perfect after this. Monsieur Duncan, you are under arrest for the murder of Gerard Arnault. Ha! Dear Mr. Ambassador, let me guess, you've had a touch too much free champagne? I'm the face of the Ptolemy dynasty, darlings. Life is beautiful. Why ever would I murder someone? Do not play with us, Monsieur Duncan. We know that you sent the victim a message telling him to confess his sins because you were coming for him. You waited for Monsieur Arnault to take a break from the party so that you could sneak up on him and bash him over the head with that cat statue. How dare you? I would never befoul a cat statue in such a manner. And the icing on the cake was that charade you put on afterwards, pretending you were afraid of the killer striking again on the roof. It was a fine performance, was it not? I've landed myself in it, haven't I? Alright, you got me. I killed Gerard, but only because he was going to condemn me to the same fate. As I told you, Gerard never got over me poking fun at him on national television. He became fixated on finding ways to get back at me. For a long time, I took it in my stride. I'm one of the most famous men in New Cairo, so I've attracted my fair share of enemies. But then I discovered that Gerard had made a recording of me, taken during a moment of weakness. And what were you doing in this recording? I criticized our beloved and most devout Ramses the 43rd. Something like that. I think that's the 43rd. But I didn't mean it. I was just frustrated that my latest idea for a talk show had been rejected. The Ptolemy dynasty doesn't tolerate dissent. If Gerard had played the recording to them, this gorgeous head of mine would have ended up on a plate. Be that as it may, Monsieur Duncan, I'm afraid we have no choice but to turn you over to the head of intelligence for your crimes. Monsieur Bass, we are happy to report that we have identified Monsieur Arnault's killer. Eugene? It was you who killed Gerard Arnault? Please, Armand, I can explain. Gerard had it in for me. I was only protecting myself. You're supposed to be the face of the Ptolemy dynasty, someone for people to look up to, not a petty criminal. Ramses the 43rd will have your head once he hears what you've done. If we may, we have a request. Since the victim was French and La France does not approve of, capital punishment, we would like to ask that the killer be incarcerated instead. No death penalty? This is the most unconventional request. But if it means cementing the special relationship New Cairo has with France, I shall accept it. And now this unsavory business has been dealt with, festivities can recommence. After all, people came here for a party. Matthew, now that we've identified Mr. Arnault's killer, it's time to focus on discovering how Amon Bas altered history to help Egypt and the Ptolemy dynasty gain power. Everybody is upstairs enjoying the party, so it's the perfect opportunity to look around Amon's apartment and discover more about how he changed history. It's time to get down to work, Matthew. And we'll start Time is a Lie 3-5 after this. We are back. Let's start Time is a Lie 3-5. Matthew, solving this murder has allowed us to gain Amon's trust, which means we now have the perfect opportunity to snoop around his place while the party goes on upstairs. We desperately need to find evidence of how Amon and Nebet changed history. Let's take a look around the lounge to see what we can find, and if anybody asks, we're just taking a breather before rejoining the party. Got it. Matthew, that safe could be a gold mine of info if you can get it unlocked. And we should recover the writing on that hard drive, but do it quickly. One of the partygoers could come downstairs at any moment. Got it. Bingo, Matthew. That looks like Amon's diary in the safe. If we're lucky, this diary might explain how he changed history in Egypt's favor. Orlando will be able to confirm. Since we're not done here, let's ask Zara to take over on that end. Hello? Zara, it's me. We're sending Amon's diary to Orlando. Can you take over? Sure. I've been dying for something to do. I'll check in with Orlando once he's looked in the diary. Nefertiti's logs. Oh boy. The label on this hard drive reads Nefertiti's logs. Matthew, we know that Nefertiti is Nebet's real name. And while I'd be happy never to hear anything about Nebet again, this hard drive might reveal everything she lied to us about. Let's get it to Kai. Six hours also. I'll see you guys when this is done. Okay, we are back. Let's get the results of Amon's diary first. Jack asked me to follow up on that diary he sent you, Orlando. Did it contain anything about how Amon changed the timeline? The diary mostly detailed Amon's personal impressions of the time periods he visited, which gave me a general idea of his travels. You recall how Chief Scott noticed that some famous battles inexplicably involved Egypt? Right, like the Battle of Waterloo. Egypt didn't even fight in our timeline, let alone win it. Exactly. We already know it's because Amon interfered with history at various key junctures to help Egypt and the Ptolemies gain power. I'm not clear on how he did it, but he made sure that the descendants of the Ptolemean Cleopatra and Mark Antony remained on the throne, before cementing ties with other monarchies by marrying these descendants to kings and queens around the world. The early 1700s was the real turning point when Egypt's power started to grow, though. Apparently Amon ensured Egypt took over shipping routes in that era, making the country a central figure in global trade. And not only was trade crucial for a country to be able to spread its influence, it also allowed a nation to generate riches beyond imagination. Taking over the trade routes is no small feat. How did Amon pull it off? I wish I knew, but I'm sure that undoing whatever he did is the key to restoring the original timeline, Matthew. We love to go back and stop Egypt from taking over the shipping routes, but we're fugitives on the run with no idea where our time machine is. Then our next priority should be finding it. I suggest speaking to the resistance leader, but I heard that she's off on a mission. Might I suggest you talk to Sirius instead? He's one of the more knowledgeable people around here. Right, I heard about Sirius. I'm so sorry, Orlando. I can't imagine how difficult it must be, seeing your deceased husband from our timeline alive. Thank you, but there are bigger things at stake here. Now go see if Sirius has any leads on where we might find our time machine. Ah, Matthew, I was just thinking about that encounter with your colleague yesterday. What was his name again? Orlando? I can't help but feel that I offended him somehow. His behavior was odd, to say the least. No, it was just a simple case of mistaken identity, Mr. Atwood. And actually, that's not why we're here. We were wondering if you might have any idea of where we should start looking for our time machine. It was confiscated when we arrived back in 2029, and we're never going to be able to correct the course of history if we don't get it back. I might know of someone who could help you. The Resistance has ties to a journalist who works for Sphinx News. Well, let's just say he has a finger in a lot of pies. He might know where to point you. I'll look into arranging a meeting with the journalist and get back to you. In the meantime, take this cash as thanks for everything you're doing, Matthew. Kai, what did you find on Nebet's hard drive? This is going to make for uncomfortable viewing, Matthew, but it contains recordings of Nebet's conversations with Amon while she was in our time machine. See, Amon regularly traveled to whatever time Nebet was in so they could touch base. I'll show you. Amon, our plan went off without a hitch. I'm hidden on board Matthew's time machine. I'll reveal that I stowed away when the time is right. Anyway, I overheard that they jumped to 37 BCE. Nice job. That should give you time to rile Octavian up. Amon, I just warned Matthew about a saboteur lurking around the time machine. He'll never suspect me now. They should be stuck in the 1960s for a while. You better head back and ensure we win Waterloo. Oh, Amon, it feels so good to be home. I can barely believe how much everything has changed, but it's perfect. I just spoke to my father. He's promised to reward you for everything you've done for us, but I have another favor to ask. I need you to keep this key safe at all costs. You weren't kidding. Nebet was in touch with Amon this whole time. The extent of her deception is beyond belief, Matthew. Well, the best revenge is to undo everything she's done and restore the original timeline. But what do you reckon that key she asked Amon to look after is for? It seemed important. Which means we should try and get our hands on it. Good thinking. If the key is at Amon's, the chef from the Resistance might have seen it. Let's ask him. Chef Ramsay, I realize we didn't part on the best of terms earlier, but we need your help. That's water under the bridge, Matthew. The Resistance will do anything we can to assist you. This might sound odd, but we're looking for a key in the form of a snake. Have you seen it? I don't know about a key, but I did find some weird metal pieces hidden in Amon's bedroom. I thought they looked important, so I stole them and stuck them in a drawer in here while I figured it out. But I'm afraid the guests are waiting for dessert, Matthew. You'll have to look around for it. Help yourself to a bite in the meantime. Matthew, this drawer must be the one where Chef Ramsay hid those metal pieces he told us about. I just hope there's a key Nebbit left with Amon. Let's search the drawer. Got it. Golden pieces. Those metal pieces you found in the drawer must be the ones Chef Ramsay mentioned. Let's assemble them to see if it's the key Nebbit entrusted to Amon. There we go. Matthew, those pieces the chef found hidden in Amon's room do form the key Nebbit gave him for safekeeping. We have no idea what it's for, but one thing's for sure, it seems important to Nebbit. And if this key has some significance to her, we should hold on to it. But for now, it's time to get out of here, Matthew. Let's update Amy on everything that's gone on. Matthew, it sounds like Nebbit must have been laughing behind our backs as she and Amon concocted their schemes. But I'm intrigued by this key she gave him for safekeeping. Do we have any idea what it's for? Not yet, but hopefully we spoiled her plans somehow by taking it. I still feel responsible for this mess, Matthew. I should have never allowed Nebbit to remain on board the time machine. But now that we're in this situation, all we can do is focus on getting out of it, and that key might be crucial to doing so. In the meantime, the Resistance has equipped us with new weapons. Take this and keep it close, Matthew. You never know when you might need it. Matthew, we've had a lot to come to terms with since we returned to 2029. We came back to discover that the USA is now under control of the Egyptian Empire, ruled by the totalitarian Ptolemy dynasty, whose lackeys confiscated our time machine and forced us to go on the run. We've since found Chief Scott dead, befriended the resistance, and learned that Nebet is actually Nefertiti, Ramses the 43rd's daughter. We've also discovered that Nebet's accomplice, Amon Bas, not only sabotaged our time machine, but also changed history in her family's favor. And she also entrusted him with the key, which we've managed to steal, even if we don't yet know its purpose. Or maybe it's 46th, I don't know. As for Amon, his diary has allowed us to identify the point in time we need to travel back to in order to try and fix history. We need to travel to the early 1700s to stop Egypt from taking control of the trade routes. But first, we need our time machine back. Sirius Atwood has confirmed that he's arranged a meeting with journalist Tabu Kebu, who might be able to help. Matthew, we're out to Sphinx News to speak with Mr. Kebu. July 18th, that's another Thursday. Three new ones. Four new ones. And that'll do. A lot of stickers for case 5. Just past the halfway point in this season, because there's only 31 cases here. So I'll see you guys on July 18th. So for now, this is Matthew. See you soon.